Medical research has concluded the vapour from e-cigarette devices can be harmful. The report released by the National Health and Medical Research Council has also found that people who vape are exposed to more than 200 chemicals, many of which can be damaging. They can also result in seizures, throat irritation and nausea, as well as damage to the lungs. Calls to the Poison Information Centre relating to vaping doubled between 2020 and 2021. There is limited evidence that e-cigarettes are effective at helping smokers quit.
Research has found that when smokers use nicotine e-cigarettes, it was more common for them to become dual users of e-cigarettes and tobacco cigarettes than to quit. Dual users breathe in more chemicals and toxins than people who only use one type of cigarette.
While fewer Australians are smoking tobacco daily, the use of e-cigarettes is increasing. The number of people who have tried vaping has risen to over 11%, and 20% of non-smokers have tried them. Young people are increasingly taking it up.
There's the very big concern of the so-called gateway effect, that it leads people on to feel familiar with smoking and then to think of taking up tobacco cigarettes.
And we know the devastation that it's had in Australia over many decades. Nicotine is a very addictive drug, and we need to make our efforts very strong with our young people to protect them from that lifelong issue if that's the way it's leading.
Young people are particularly vulnerable to the advertising and the other sorts of influences on them, peer group pressure, that can lead them down a path that they will regret in the future.
The country's chief medical officer wants people to talk about the risks of vaping.
What's clear to me from the statement is that the only thing we should be breathing in is air. There's no question that there are potential harms from e-cigarette use for those who have never smoked, and we know the harms of smoking. Please discuss this evidence with your children, with your nieces and nephews, your students, players in your football or netball team, your brothers and sisters. We need that conversation out there. We need these matters to be barbecue stoppers.
I think it's really clear from our gathering of the research, reviewing the evidence over the past 2 years, that e-cigarettes are not a safe product. And I know particularly parents will want to be hearing this advice because we've been seeing e-cigarette use and vaping rise quite dramatically among young people and adolescents in Australia.
So we're hearing that people are seeking medical advice after they have been inhaling or vaping these products. What are some of the adverse health impacts here?
Well, the sort of immediate adverse health impacts, particularly for people who've never smoked or who first started using these products, they can have dizziness, a cough, headaches. For people who potentially have been using these products for a long time, those symptoms can intensify. Alarmingly, what we don't know is what these products do long term. It took a long time for us to establish that cigarettes caused lung cancer, heart attacks, decades of research. And of course, with e-cigarettes being so new in the market, we just don't have that kind of same information.
Obviously, there's a key component here that the uptake of vaping among children is high, and also young adults. How is this impacting them, and does it differ from adults?
We've had so much success in Australia in reducing smoking rates. Smoking rates among young people and young adults have been lower than they've ever been before. And a real threat, if we see people taking up e-cigarette use, is that they're more likely to also go on to smoke. So not only are e-cigarettes a health concern in and of their own right, but they may also bring our smoking rates back up and take away all that success that we've been working so diligently towards for decades.
How is vaping, though, potentially leading to people taking up cigarettes, for example?
Sure. So if you look at, say, never smokers, so people who have just vaped, they might find that they become addicted to nicotine. They seek it out in other ways, in e-cigarettes. For people who are former smokers, they might think, oh, this is a new way for me to go back to smoking without all the nasty health impacts. Of course, they're misinformed by that. Or people who use these products in the hopes that it'll help them to quit smoking and end up being dual users. So by that I mean they not only smoke, but now also use vaping products. And there's certainly no health benefits at all with only switching out a few of your cigarettes for a few vapes.
We obviously know that vapes are now in the market, very different in terms of the regulation behind it compared to, say, cigarettes. What's the way forward with this? I mean, do we eradicate vaping? Is that even possible?
Oh, I would hope so. Look, the point of this report is to say, look, we've examined the evidence. It's clear that vaping is not safe. It's clear that it's rising among young people. And now policymakers are obliged to take that information and ensure that our policy approach is up to scratch and fit for purpose.